Happy Friday. It's time for the Richard Skipper Friday Wrap-Up Show. Who and what are you celebrating today? Richard Skipper believes every day is worth celebrating. But today, we wrap up the week with a dose of positivity. You never know who might show up or what might happen, so get ready. Your skipper is now coming on board, and we are ready to set sail. All aboard!
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to my ARC today. And that's A-R-K. It's raining cats and dogs and lions and tigers and bears here in New York. I mean, what a day. It hasn't stopped raining. I'm actually going into the city tonight to see a show, believe it or not, because life goes on. And hopefully everything's going to be fine. We're going to get there. But it's Friday. And we're wrapping up the week. And not only are we wrapping up the week, but we are wrapping up September. I hope it was a great month for all of you and that you're excited about October. I love October. I love the Blessing of the Animals, which is happening this Sunday at our church here in Spark Hill. Come and join us. It's mine and Danny's wedding anniversary, so that's worth celebrating. There's so many things to celebrate when we take the time to do so. It's also National Coffee Day. I hope you're drinking coffee out of your Richard Skipper Celebrates mug. And if you're not doing so, talk to me about how you can get your own mug to join us on Friday afternoons with. So today, I've got 5 very special people in the wings. 2 are joining us here for the very first time. Now, my dear friend Alan, who is watching from San Francisco, I asked him to pick a number 1 through 5 before we started because each of our guests are waiting behind a closed door. None of them know who I'm going to pick up. So I can see all of you. So nod that you're all ready to go. And I am going to pull up the first guest because he picked door number 5. And that's Dorothy Myers. You're my first guest of the day, and you are muted. So unmute yourself.
Hello.
So I know you're not far from where I am, and you and I have already discussed this. It is raining like you wouldn't believe today.
It's crazy.
Have you had to be out in the rain today, or have you been pretty much ensconced at home?
Well, I did have to go to work today, so yes. But the great thing is it's really a little bit of drops here, so it's not too bad down here in Central Jersey.
Well, that's good. Well, I want to do a big shout out because she's always worth celebrating. And that's Lisa Rodrigo, your publicist, because she brought us together today. As we jump into today, I always ask my guest on Friday, who or what are you celebrating today? But I'd like to do something a little bit different today. Today is the last Friday of September. I heard on the radio today 86 shopping days till Christmas. So everyone get ready for that. So Dorothy, what was the highlight for you for the month of September? And what are you happy to let go of this September?
That's a very easy question. The first part is very easy. I say the best part of September for me was my birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. God allowed me to see another day, so I'm extremely blessed for that every day.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
So
And the second part,
what's the actual day of your birthday?
oh, I'm sorry, September 2nd.
Okay,
Virgo.
great way to start the month.
Yes.
And career-wise, what happened for you in September?
Very interesting what happened for me in September is I'm trying something new as an actor. I'm trying to take it up a notch. So I am taking up other languages.
Well, that's good. I want to say out there, if any of you out there even dabble in astrology, tonight's a full moon, and this full moon falls in Aries, which is the beginning of the astrological sign. And if you believe in manifestation and setting goals and intentions, today is the day to do so because you're starting a whole new cycle. So here we are. It's perfect that you're saying.
Absolutely.
So what are you currently working on?
Well, project-wise or language-wise?
Project-wise.
Well, project-wise, I have quite a few web series that I'm working on. Some that I haven't got a chance to shoot yet that I have actually booked. So I kind of keep those on a hush. It's probably about four of them that I actually keep on a hush until we actually start shooting. Others that I'm currently working on. Actually, I just booked my first, before I go there, I just booked my first lead role in a featured film
Good.
called Irene. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, it's called what again?
Irene.
Okay.
hmm And the craziest thing just recently happened is I just booked my first leading role in a web series. Usually, web series, any series that I've been in, it's either supporting or uh, recurring. So this one is a lead role. So I'm very excited to take that leap.
So
Ready
this
to lead.
all new beginnings. This is all exciting. So
Absolutely.
one of the things that I also do on my Friday show is I have 5 mystery questions laid out. So pull a number 1 through 5, and then we're going to bring on our next guest.
Okay, I'll say 2.
And uh, this is a statement, and then you go run with it. Whatever room I walk into, I change the atmosphere in a positive way. Do you believe that you do that?
Absolutely.
Good for you. And is this something that you've always felt, or is this something that you've developed as you've gotten older?
I think as I've gotten older, I start to realize how blessed I truly am. I used to be an extremely shy person. So, I'm just a little shy, but not as much. So, I'm just ready to conquer the world right now.
That's great. So what's the secret for you in terms of conquering the world and conquering a room that you walk into?
Staying consistent. Consistency is very important for me. Um, Also, too, I love a challenge. I love to be challenged, even though I may not be. I can't say that I'm not scared of anything. There may be some things that scare me, but one of the things that I don't like anything to be easy. Challenge me. Give me something that's going to be a little hard. Because I want to be able to say, "Wow, I did that." You know what I'm saying? So definitely consistency, loyal. I'm being loyal to myself. Persistent. You got to be really persistent if you want it. If you want whatever you want, you got to go for it.
I saw a video clip yesterday of Reba McEntire on The Voice, and she was speaking to young kids, I guess, in terms of going into show business. She said, show up early, leave late, and have the time of your life. And that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah.
So you're going to bring up our next guest. So you pull a number 1 through 4, and we'll see who's coming up next.
2.
2, and this is his first time on the show, and he has a brand new album that has just come out called The More I See You. Christopher John Del Gaudio is here. Hello, Christopher.
Thanks. Hi, Richard. Hello, Dorothy. So
Hi.
nice to be here.
I am so glad that you're here, and you and I spoke just briefly earlier today, and it turns out that you and I actually met years ago when I was co-hosting Wednesday Night at the Iguana with Dana Lorge at the Iguana on 54th Street. And I want to thank you because you have continued to make music all these many years later. And not only have you continued to make music, but now people can take you home with them because you have an album.
Well, actually, it's a single, Richard. What I've done is I've wanted to do an album for a long time. And I've noticed a change in the climate with music, especially since the digital platforms became a lot more common over the last decade or so. I saw a lot of friends who had made albums when CDs were much more viable. And they printed some 500 to 1,000 copies of these CDs that eventually ended up in a closet or a basement. I felt that since the interest in CDs and the hard copy CDs was diminishing to some degree, I would release a series of singles. And I recorded over 3 different sessions, a number of different standards. I favor the Great American Songbook and songs from Broadway, classic jazz, pop rock, and my own compositions as well. And I released them over a period of time individually. And The More I See You is one single that I'm releasing tomorrow. I would like eventually to do an album because I love the concept albums of the 1950s, similar to what Frank Sinatra had done with In the Wee Small Hours and No One Cares, those delightful, masterful works. And I would like to do that at some point, but I think it's more realistic just to start with singles. I feel if you can't hold their interest with one song, you're not going to do it with an album.
But I mean, you're going about this, I guess, from that point of view. But I don't think that Sinatra or Garland or Peggy Lee or any of these great artists ever thought in those terms. I mean, an album was put together because, let's face it, people's attention spans were a little bit more.
Yes,
I love listening to an album from
I
start
do
to
too.
finish, and it's a lost art.
It really is. And I think a lot of us who still sing this kind of music, I think we have a responsibility to try to perpetuate it into future generations and make them understand the great art of listening to 12 songs in succession that each have a theme and sort of grow into and out of one another. Nothing warms my heart more so than when I've performed live and I see people in their 20s in the audience who say, "Wow, that's a great new song," and it's something like "Who Can I Turn To," or "The Shadow of Your Smile," and they're just not exposed to it. And I don't think it's something that they don't inherently like. I think it's just not on their diet menu, and we have to give them greater musical nutrition, if that's a good way of putting it.
I'm glad that you say this because I do believe that because the industry has gotten so segmented, not only with music, but television shows, streaming, the way that people view entertainment nowadays, people are not exposed to a wider variety of things. Carol Channing's husband, Harry, used to say, if kids are not exposed to music, they will not know the difference between a xylophone and a saxophone.
Exactly.
And it's true, or a microphone. You need to be able to expose more and more people to all types of music. One of the things that I love about doing this show is that I get to bring people from all different areas of the business together to talk. And we're going to talk a little bit later in the show about your process and how you create. I do want to bring our next guest on in a moment, but I do also want to commend you because in addition to making music, you are also in the nursing profession.
I
So,
am.
so I
And
want to thank you for that.
and that's something that came about again in the last decade. I worked for many years in film, television, and the theater. I'm a graduate of NYU Tisch School of the Arts from the late 1980s. And unfortunately, there comes a time after working for so many years that you see that sustaining a consistent livelihood in the arts becomes increasingly difficult. And living in an entertainment mecca such as New York or LA also becomes difficult. And that causes a lot of us to have to make a decision. And mine was nursing, which was always in the back of my mind. I was always interested in the sciences as much as the arts. And I really don't think there's much of a difference with either, because I find that one feeds the other and one nourishes the other. I think the sciences give form and structure to the arts, and the arts give maybe a greater possibility to the sciences, where something isn't seen necessarily as 1 + 1 = 2, but there might be a more oblique and abstract reason for things. As an actor, it also makes you, with your own self-awareness, it makes you aware of the needs of others and how to anticipate that need. It helps you to work with other people as an ensemble, as you would in the theater. And it also enables you to have a sense of humor, which is very much needed, especially since the pandemic.
Especially. Well, we're going to bring our next guest on, but before we do, I've got 4 mystery cards out. So pull a number 1 through 4.
Number 3.
And your question is, which value do you care about that you're not currently living? Interesting question.
Oh, that's interesting. What value do I care about that I'm not currently living? Marriage.
Wow. 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 Well, that's a good value.
Because I value that I'm not currently living. I think I'm an upstanding person otherwise. I mean, that's maybe the first thing that came to my mind.
Well, that's a great answer. Well, you're going to bring on our next guest. So door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
Okay. Oh, this is Let's Make a Deal.
Let's
Wow,
make
it's
a
a
deal.
flash. I'm really dating myself now. I would say, all right, door number 3.
Door number 3. And
I feel like Dina Merrill.
yes, he happens to be one of my favorite people. And he now has this program called Creating Your Spotlight, Discover, Nurture, and Showcase Your Creativity. And if there's anyone who can help you to do that, it's Dana P. Rowe.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to see you. Happy birthday, Dorothy. Happy anniversary, Richard. Congratulations, Christopher.
Thank you.
Wow, these are all such cool things.
So let's talk about all the cool things that you're doing right now. Where do you want to begin?
Let's start with the Creating Your Spotlight, which was the name of the book that's coming out, was the name of the book. The new name of the book is called Lessons in Creativity for Musical Theater Characters, and that comes out in December through Routledge. You can actually pre-order it on Amazon now. And what the craziest thing, it went into, it hit, it's no longer there, but like when we first started being able to pre-order it, it went to #1 in theater books, and it hasn't even been published yet. So, fantastic.
That's exciting.
It is very exciting. And my collaborator and I co-wrote it with a dear friend named James Kaufman. And we have two more books in the pipeline.
And how did you two, what was your collaborative process, the two of you working together?
We met, it's really like slow and steady little steps. I think that is the most powerful way to make change in our lives. And James and I, he came on my podcast, which I had a few years back.
Which was
he said at the end of it, he says, I'd love to talk to you after this. And I said, sure. And he goes, because James has written like over 40 like academic textbook type books that have been published. And he says, would you consider collaborating on a book? And this was back in 2016. And I thought, well, let me think. Yeah, sure. I'd love to do that. So he said we could combine, the fact that I've lived in theater most of my life and the fact that he studies and researches creativity and teaches creativity. He wrote the book Creativity 101, if that tells you anything,
wow.
Which has had multiple public, releases. So it was just this wonderful thing where we met once or twice, once a week for the last 5 years. And just slowly wrote this book. And then the publisher said, sure, we'd love to publish this. And so now we have 2 other books lined up.
Now, I also want to talk about this other project that you have going on right now. And you are calling it an introduction to the world of voiceover.
Yeah, this is just such a weird, my life is one big adventure, Richard. You know this. You know that from knowing me, that I sort of have made up my mind. Life is to be enjoyable and lived well. And I have a dear friend in Dusseldorf who says, life is not worth living unless you're joyfully exhausted. And so I have made up my mind to be joyfully exhausted every day of my life.
Me too.
So one thing that kind of came up is that, one of my early, my degree was in vocal performance. I sang opera and did the whole, shebang. And I was meeting with my friend Robin Brooke, who is the one who basically leads this workshop we're talking about, an introduction to the world of voiceover. And I said, Robin, I've always thought it'd be really fun to narrate audiobooks. And she goes, well, you should really do that. And so she sort of helped me navigate that world. very shortly, I booked a book. So my first book comes out in November, and it is the biography of Beatrice Eyre Patton, who was the wife of General George Patton. And then right as I was doing that, I got another book, which is a big comedy fantasy novel, which is really fun because then I get to pull out all those voices that used to annoy my family when I was
Oh my
a little
God!
boy.
I have a question for you. I mean, it's very interesting. Your first book is coming out, and
Yeah.
it's the autobiography of Beatrice Patton.
Sure, that comes out. It's called Lady of the Army. It was written by Stephanie Van Steelant, and it's a 500-page. I mean, I didn't just book like a 25-page, thing.
But
It's like, no, I have
just
to
wanna-
overdo,
I have a question about that. And it's very interesting, and kudos to you.
Thank
Why,
you. Thank you.
and it's interesting that they went with a male voice as opposed to a female voice. Do you know the story
Yeah.
behind that?
Well, yeah. I first of all, the author has just been. I could not have asked for a better author to read for my first book. She's just tremendous, so incredibly intelligent, and I believe we really never had that conversation per se, but I think what it does is it first of all, I'm voicing a lot of people that happened, including Beatrice. I'm doing Beatrice's voice. I don't know. I believe that it just seemed right. And when I saw the title of the book, I thought, I gotta audition for that. That sounds really, because I used to read like the longer the better biography when I was a little boy, right?
Well, I went to see Alison Arngrim last night. For those of you who don't know, she was Nellie Olson on Little House on the Prairie. Because of the strike, she could not talk about Little House on the Prairie. So she found all of these other areas of her life to talk about. Her mother was the voice of Gumby, Casper the Friendly Ghost, Polly from Underdog.
Yeah.
And she showed all these clips, and her mother used to do all the voices of the different characters. And it was just amazing. So, Dana, you're going to stick around for a little bit. Talk about the creative process, but I want you to pull a number 1 through 3. Number 1 for your question, and then we're going to bring in our next guest.
Oh, two.
And your question is, what's the best compliment that you feel that you've ever received in your profession?
Oh, I have many professions, but I think the one that really lands for me is when someone tells me they feel safe. And that is whether we're having a conversation and they, that we have created a safe space for them to be who they are. And that to me is the highest compliment.
That's great. Now we have 2 women waiting in the wings. Both are incredible artists, and both have cabaret shows coming up. Both of them, these shows have been done, and they are bringing them back by popular demand. So, but both are winners. So pull a number 1 or 2.
Oh, well, let's go with 1. Why not?
Okay. Well, she has the distinction of appearing in Gypsy with Ethel Merman. And she has a new show called Let Me Entertain You Again. And here she was Dainty June. Here she is.
Oh my goodness, hello.
Lane. I do want to say before we jump in, Lane, everyone, Joyce Bulifant, if you know, was scheduled to be here today. Everything's fine. She's in Los Angeles at an event that she thought she was going to get out earlier. So she is going to be doing the show next week, but at the last moment, as happens in show business, I received Lane's email about our upcoming show, and I said, how would you like to come on the show today? And Lane canceled her ballet class to be here. Well, you didn't want to go out with Lane. So Lane, how are you, Lane?
I'm good. This is so exciting.
I am so glad that you're here.
Just to listen to all of you. I'm just kind of blown away.
So Lane, you're bringing this show back. You've had this incredible career. If nothing else, and I've said this to you before, you have an incredible autobiography now. And if you decide that you don't want to read it yourself, Dana's in the wings. But she has an incredible autobiography.
Oh, exciting.
But Lane also, if you've ever seen the movie, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, one of the most incredible acting scenes I have ever seen of any actress ever. You should have gotten an Oscar and they should have just gone home. That's all I'm going to say.
Let me just tell you something. I wasn't acting. That's real. The minute Harvey Keitel came in the door, no, Ellen didn't have to act. I didn't have to act. I just needed to get out of there. He was terrifying.
So, Lane, you've had this great experience. You've worked with some of the greatest people in the business, but even more so, they've had the experience of working with you. So, what do you feel that you've learned or that you've gained from working with some of the greats like Ethel Merman, Ellen Burstyn, Harvey Keitel? And what do you think that they got from working with you?
Well, I feel like that I was blessed in the very beginning because I guess God gave me some kind of sense of truth. And so and I learned at the actor studio that you don't act, you be. And so it starts with there. So you start with your own truth, and then you bring other little things into it. And it's so, I mean, to work with somebody like Ellen was incredible. She's just right there for you. She's full of truth. Ethel Merman was a different story. And I do talk about that in my cabaret. So does that answer your question?
It does answer my question. And again, here you are on Monday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. I want to ask, Lane, is there a different approach? I mean, obviously, there are two different mediums, but you're telling your story for entertainment value. You want your readers to be entertained reading your book. But is there a different approach to putting your story on stage or putting it on the pages of a book?
Well, putting it, first of all, I need to say the title of it is An Unruly Imagination. And I thought, Lane, you should talk about your book. And then you brought it up. So thank you.
It's great. I love your book.
But I just wrote the truth. And sometimes I get in trouble for the truth, especially with my family.
Mhm.
But c'est la vie. But it's the same thing on stage. You're there, and you just bring what's happening to you at the moment. Some things go wrong, and sometimes the things that go wrong make things even better. But you have to have the freedom, and that comes, I think, with time, also being on stage and being in a cabaret setting where everything is just truly moment to moment to moment. And sometimes you forget lines, and sometimes you have to make up stuff, but it's gotten to be so much fun. I just love being up there.
That's great. I can't wait for your show. I'm going to be there. It's interesting, and I'm sure, Dana, you work as a coach. It's interesting when we live our truth and we tell our story, and it's important that we live our truth and we tell our story. But that can be daunting and frightening for those who have experienced their version of our story. I remember when I was putting my autobiographical show on stage a couple of years ago, my sister said, "Be careful what you say." And I said, first of all, I want my audience to have a good time. And number two, this is my story to tell. And I think that wouldn't it be a better world for all of us if everybody allowed everybody to tell their story?
I think so. Yes. We get it all, get it out.
Wow. Well, I want to get our next guest on here to tell her story. But there are 2 cards left, so 1 or 2 for your mystery question.
1.
Okay. And the question is, what was the worst audition that you ever had where you actually got the job?
Oh my God. I don't know the answer to that. Richard, I'm stymied.
Well, if something pops into your head, you come back and tell us.
Okay.
And while you're thinking about that, I am going to talk about my dear friend, Judy Mark, who has an incredible show called Merely Marvelous, The Songs of Gwen Verdon. This show is incredible. I was there for the first performance, and she's bringing it back. And the thing is that this show, she's going to be there at Don't Tell Mama on October 4th and 11th. This show is directed by Jeff Harner. No slouch there either. And most people don't think of Gwen Verdon as a singer. They think of her obviously as a dancer. Judy is a phenomenal dancer. I'll tell you how phenomenal she is. She had to share the stage with one of the worst dancers on the planet, and that's me. She said, just keep smiling and go with it. We did a review together a few years ago. So how are you, Judy?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. It's a wonderful day. I'm going to look at the moon tonight. I'm going to say a little prayer. And I'm looking at the East River, noting that the best mode of transportation today has got to be the ferry.
Well, hopefully, yes.
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 If you're coming into the city, I strongly suggest it.
Now, I already know the answer to the next question I'm going to ask, but for those who don't know, why a show about Gwen Verdon?
Well, I have to be honest and say that this was Jeff Harner's idea. And Jeff has been my director for many years, and we've done a few shows. As a matter of fact, I have 5 shows, but he didn't direct all of them. But the ones that were the most intense were this one in particular. And I feel that Jeff really knows me, and I trust him. And when he talked to me about Gwen, some of the things he said, like, you sound like her. Well, I didn't think I sounded like her. He says, are you kidding? You have the same inflections. So I listened to it and I thought, well, okay, I guess I could be that way, but I didn't want to imitate. But he said, well, you're a dancer. You can relate to all of that. And so I just went with it. I went with it. And when I got involved in it, I realized this was really a good choice because we have so much in common, personally, professionally. Of course, I never achieved the Broadway status and acclaim that she has earned, but it's like a pleasure. It's an honor to be able to celebrate her and with enthusiasm. And she had a lot of that. So that's where I'm coming from.
Well, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't really know a lot about Gwen Verdon's life and career until you started delving into her story because of this show. What is the one thing that you have learned about her that resonates the most with you as far as who she was as a person outside of the spotlight?
She had a very strong work ethic. And she was very disciplined. And in every picture, and I look at her body, I remind myself to get on the scale. It's true. Every morning I check it out. And I know that I'm a very disciplined person. In fact, I had a long career in education too, dance education. So I was teaching 5 classes a day and rehearsing with these high school dance majors. And it was all about discipline and teaching. And I think of Gwen when she was teaching someone a role and how she must have approached it. She must have been extremely specific. I don't think she would see it any other way. And my training is that too. If you do a tendu, you do it properly. You don't do it sloppily.
And the thing is, a lot of people don't know this, but I mean, she coached a lot of people behind the scenes in a lot of major motion pictures that she never got the credit for. I mean, she was there at MGM in its heyday, working with a lot of the stars there. She worked with Liza on Cabaret. She worked with Shirley MacLaine. Even this is a testament. She did the role of Charity Hope Valentine. She doesn't get the movie version, but she coaches the actress who does the movie into doing the movie and doing all of her steps. So that's a testament to her, who she is.
Yes, she seems humble and she seems beyond nice, because to teach somebody, you have to have a feeling inside that you really want them to learn it. And if they're not getting it, you have to have the patience and the discipline to approach it from another angle and understand that who you're teaching and who you're working with may have their own feelings about what they're doing and their own insecurities. So it takes a great deal of psychology to be able to pick up immediately what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, there's one question left, so it's yours. And the question is, what do you regret not doing when it comes to your art or your career when you were younger?
Oh, well, I don't like to dig up old stuff, but if you ask me, I'll tell you. My childhood was really rough, and my dad was always insisting that I do more and more and more and more. And then my training was interrupted with this moving from here to there to this house to that house. If I could have it my way again, I would go straight ahead. I would never stop taking my classes. I wouldn't have done a million things. I might not have had so many boyfriends. I always liked the boys. I always got along with the boys. And they
There's nothing wrong with that.
laughed all the time. All the time. I didn't care. But I would be more disciplined as a child. And I didn't realize the value of it. I just thought my father was beating on me. Do more, do more, do more. And earn your allowance. Pick those dandelions. You earn a penny a root. You don't get the dandelion if you just show the top of it. It has to be the whole root. This is craziness. I think
Wow.
I'm gonna run away.
Well, that's great. Well, those who know me, those who watch the Friday wrap-up show, I'm all about the creative process and positivity and how it all comes together. So I want to have a little round robin type of fun with all of you. And these questions are based on my readings and my own research and writings this week. And I'll start with you, Dorothy. And the question is, what activities do you dislike when it comes to your art?
Well, I would say I'm not a big fan of monologues. I love to do a script.
Mhm.
I just don't like a monologue. I guess because you have to memorize it and it has to stay in your brain. Like everybody doesn't ask for a monologue, so it kind of goes out of my brain,
Mhm.
and then I have to restudy it all over again. So I'm not a big fan of monologues.
Okay, well, that may change. Yeah, it could always change. Christopher, have you ever refused to uh, go after something that someone suggested that you should go after when it comes to your art?
I would say the dance, because I was always 2 left feet. And they had advised me earlier on that if I got the dancing up to the level of the voice, I would definitely be much more viable for Broadway and so forth. And I probably should have listened and been more amenable to it at that time.
Well, you and Judy need to talk. She'll help
Yes.
you get there. Dana, interesting question. Have you ever been in a fight with others over your personal beliefs? And if so, what is your best method for dealing with that?
You know, surprisingly, I haven't. I've always been that person who what you believe is you're welcome to believe it. So yeah, my best thing is to know I'm very sure about what's going on in here, and I haven't always been that way, but certainly I've had many times when I was completely not sure what was going on in there. But now these days I am, and so it's like you do you, I'll do me, and that's usually the way I am, unless somebody asks to talk about it. Then it's a conversation.
I love that. What a great answer. Elaine, how do you deal with stress in this business?
How do I deal with it? I think what I do is I just acknowledge it and then go on. And it's just so that if I can put it that energy that it takes to be stressful into what I'm doing, then I can create with it.
Great. That's good. It's good if you can find a way to do that. Judy, when have you asked for help in your career and got it that propelled you forward?
Oh, I think what I mostly ask people often is how can I move my career at this point of my life? And I do get different answers, and I have followed through. I have a very extensive website. I'm on all social media platforms. I have a newsletter. And when I speak to you, Richard, you always give me another idea. And it really helps me a lot. And I thank you for that. And I want to
Thank you.
cheers.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Dorothy, when have you said yes and it was the right decision in your career?
When did I say yes?
In today's show.
Oh. You know what? I'm going to say, for me, I'm going to say when I said yes to Lisa. I love networking. Strangely, I love people. And I've met a lot of great people, and I'm looking forward to meeting more as well.
That's great. And by the way, everyone, I want to let everyone who's watching know that links and things that we talk about on today's show will also be showing up on the YouTube channel so that you'll be able to follow up with all this. Christopher, what have you lost this month as we're wrapping up September that you would most like to retrieve?
I thought the question was going to go in the direction of weight because I've lost 30 pounds over the last year. I don't want to retrieve that, however. I have to, let me think, what did I lose that I would like to retrieve? That's a tough question. I don't have an immediate answer for that. I can't say I've necessarily lost anything that I would want to get back.
Well, if anything pops into your head,
that I can think of,
and jump in and just throw it at me.
But the weight, yes.
And Dana, as we're wrapping up September, did anything make you angry this month, and you're glad to see it go?
Not really. I'm so boring, Richard. No, nothing. It's sort of like, no.
Good.
No, I mean, if anything, the thing that I hate to see go is just time. It seems to be flying by.
I
Could we
know.
just dial it back a little bit? I mean,
Well,
that's the only thing. That's the only
I
thing.
I was at the supermarket the other night, and on this side of the aisle was Halloween,
Yeah.
and on this side,
Right? Oh, yes.
Thanksgiving. And I said to Danny, why don't we just put up a Christmas tree with jack-o'-lanterns on it?
Right.
Cover it all, we'll do all that. Lane,
I thought of something actually
okay.
about. I was in July. I went to Paris for the first time
Wow.
in my life, and I just recalled the wonderment of seeing the Eiffel Tower for the very first time. And as September came in, I kind of like lost that sense memory of just looking up from the bottom all the way up to the top, and I can't even describe the wonder and the marvel of that. And I think as September began, I felt now this is a distant memory. It's just something historic. It's not something I'm immediately feeling like I had for a while. That's something I lost because that was so just so wondrous.
You know, all of us can hold on to those moments of that first time we experience something and just carry that with us each time we experience it. It'll be great. Lane, when have you felt the most helpless in your career, and what got you through that period?
Well, I think the most helpless I felt was when I was working with Jerome Robbins. And just, I guess, grit and determination is what got me through.
Are the rumors true about him being such a taskmaster in terms of the way he dealt with his dancers? And what were the positive aspects that you got from him?
None.
Oh,
I mean, I couldn't. I have a hard time. I can appreciate what he created, but he's such a demon. At least he was to me. Now other people don't feel that way about him, but to me, he was a destructive devil.
wow. Wow. Well, I'm sorry you had that experience.
Me too.
Judy, how do you feel that you're doing in your career currently? I mean, you've got the show coming up, and no one works as hard as you do, I don't think. But how do you feel that everything's falling into place?
Well, thanks to you, Richard, I'm going to be on the Broadway radio show. Hey,
Yeah, that's great.
following my second show with my Gwen Verdon show. I'm just loving that show, and I want to set up some more dates. I need to find a publicist, and I'm going to put that out there. I really do. I need somebody to help me find work anywhere all over this world. I am ready to go with this show.
Well, you and Dorothy connect, and Dorothy, you can tell her all about Lisa. Lisa's
I wrote it down. How do I? Well, I don't. You'll tell me how I can.
I will. Is it okay if I put you in touch with each other?
Yes.
Well, I'll put you in touch with Lisa.
Great.
Dorothy, I mean, you mentioned early on in the show, I mean, so many wonderful things that have happened this month. What do you feel is working the best for you right now as we go into October?
Working the best for me? That could be anything or entertainment. I'm going to say taking this classes in other languages. I think it's going to really benefit me in the long run. And I'm ready to let Dorothy out of that shell.
I see a trip to Paris with you and Christopher in the future. I see it coming up.
Are you studying French by any chance?
It's a secret.
Okay.
So, Christopher, the opposite of that, what isn't working for you in your career currently that you would like to change as we go into October?
I think a process of just getting back into the whole process of developing a cabaret act, and especially since the pandemic when everything shut down, and people weren't going out and getting back into performing live again, which I love, and developing an audience and growing as a person, because I believe that any talent, any skill is a process of lifelong learning. And it sometimes requires a lifetime to get to where we want to be. And we should never stop learning. We should never stop opening the doors. We should never stop opening the windows and asking ourselves, what can we do better? What can we improve upon? What can we touch upon that we haven't done? It helps to be multifaceted in the arts these days, because you don't know where opportunity is going to take you. There was the old canard that you can only be just one thing, whether
Not
that
anymore.
was a
Not
singer or
anymore.
a dancer. Now you had Jerry Herman, who was a composer and an architect. You had the librettist Abe Burrows, who I believe was an obstetrician. You had Harold Carr, the composer, who was a dentist. Naomi Judd was a nurse. Marsha Lewis, the actress, is a nurse. So a lot of us.
Ethel Merman was a candy striper.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me Ethel Merman was a nurse. That would have been interesting. How was Ethel Merman to work with, Lane, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, I don't know, because she never looked you in the eye.
Really?
She only looked at your forehead. So, you know, I talk about that in my show also. She just wasn't, I think she had her performance all set, and, you know, it never changed. I mean, we worked totally differently, but she never looked me in the eye. So, you know, it was just doing the best you can with her.
Well, I've got some great stories that I'll share at another time of Ethel Merman.
Hey.
But a great Christmas story that I'll share at some point. But Carol Channing used to say, "Can you imagine Ethel Merman as a candy striper walking into your room and going, 'Roll over'?" Dana, you know, I said earlier on that I heard on the radio today that 86 shopping days till Christmas. You talk about being in the moment and just enjoying now. Do you make New Year's resolutions? And if so, did the ones that you made this year stick for you?
That's a good question. I haven't, I'm so sorry, Richard. This is I haven't. No, I haven't made New Year's resolutions in many, many, many years. First of all, I feel like every day is an opportunity to make a change. And for me, that works best. If something's not working for me now, I don't need to wait for some time in the future to change things. I think that any choice, anytime we don't change something that we want to change, we're making a choice.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
And so for me, going forward, each day I take a little bit of an inventory at the end of the day and kind of go, well, what worked and what didn't work and what would I like to be different?
I'm right there with you. Lane, with your show coming up, is there a certain routine that you get into as you're leading up to that next performance? And if so, what is one habit that you feel that you have to do every single day leading up to your next performance?
Well, I take a ballet class every day. I take 3 voice lessons a week. I walk a lot. I rehearse every day. I have 3 shows that I do. So, no, actually 4. So I rehearse some show every single day. So, you know, my life is pretty filled up.
That's great. And Judy, this is my last question, but Judy, who would you consider to be the best mentor that you've had in this business, and why?
I had so many mentors, but the one that just popped out is Burton, John Wolowich's husband.
Oh, Bert from Lost.
Burton, yes, he was. His last name slipped my mind, but he was my teacher at Martha Graham, and he was so dramatic, and he used to say things to me. I saw him on the street once. He says, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Eve's garden." I meant like for a plant. He said, "Oh, that's that sex toy place down in the village." I thought, "Oh, this guy's fun. He's not so dramatic. He's fun." So let me go with this. Then he told me to go study voice with Lynn Masters, who had me reading from a book, the A's, the R's, the O's, to lose my Chicago accent. I did everything that he said, and he stayed with me, except for his last name. But thank you for bringing him up again, because I won't forget it this
I
time.
love Bertram Ross, and I used to spend Christmas Eve with Bertram and John. John Wallowich and I shared a birthday. So
Christmas Eve is my birthday.
oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's wonderful. Everyone, I mean, these when I do these shows on Fridays, the hour just flies. All of you have so much to bring to the table, and even when you say no, I don't. You do. So just by saying no, you bring a lot to the table. I love each and every one of you. I've learned from my guest on the show, and I want to thank you all for being here. Before we wrap up, I want to let you all know that each of you are going to get a chance to have your final word today. It could be about anything that we spoke about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message that you want to leave everyone with before we sign off today. When you finish, you will pick the next person, and so on to the last person is standing. And when you say goodbye, the final credits will roll. So you don't have to worry about how do I get out of here. I also want to give a huge shout out to I have a sponsor for this show, and I want to thank her so much for all that she's done to help me out this month, and that's Eden Castile. And she has a show coming up celebrating Madeline Kahn. And if any of you get a chance, she was my guest on Monday night, and all of these shows are archived on richardskippercelebrates.com. So check it out, check her out, check all of these artists out. I end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Pick up the phone and call someone that you have not spoken to in a long time. All of you are on Facebook. Go to your Facebook friends list, and you'll see those 9 boxes. Go to the 4th name and reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, but a phone call. And let that person know that they have made an impact on your life and how. And by doing so, you're going to make an impact on their life. It's very important that we do this with each other each and every day. We have to pick somebody out that we're going to celebrate on every single day. That's what this show is about. That's what I'm about. And I believe that if we all do that, it's going to be a better planet. I have a dear friend, Sean Moniger, and he says, we're all in the same storm, but we're in different size boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that, we'll leave the screen. Lane, I'm going to turn it over to you. And when you finish, you'll pick the next person. Lane, it's all yours.
Well, the thing that I'm most excited about now is I'm doing a not a documentary, a video that is trying to bring some healing and understanding to the LGBT community, and I'm putting that together. I wrote a poem called "When I Sing LGBTQ," and my accompanist has written it. It is now a song. It is just extraordinary in the way that it pulls you in to this, and then so gently and so beautifully, and brings what I'm hoping is the people that are prejudiced against this will just be sucked in by this the beauty of this song and excuse me, the little video that I want to pull together. So that's where my heart is right now. Um, let's see. I don't remember names. I'm sorry. The man that has the beard and the headphones.
That would be me.
Please
Thank you,
tell me your name.
Lane.
I just don't do
I'm
this.
Dana. Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay. No worries. No worries. Thank you all. It was lovely to meet you all. Judy, I think I've met you before, but certainly Christopher and Dorothy. And Richard, thank you for having me always. It's such a delight to come on and just kind of enjoy the moment, enjoy the wrap up on Friday. I'm so glad to have you all here and to meet you all. So with that, I'll pass it to Dorothy. Dorothy, take it away.
Thank you. I would like to say thanks for having me as well. And I'm looking forward to coming back to keep you guys posted on what's coming new. And also, too, I would like to put the message out there that if there's something that you would love to do, you'd be surprised by what you can do. So please do it. Amen. And I will say, let's give it to Judy.
Oh, well, thank you. I just want to do another shout out for my show this Wednesday. And if you can't make it this Wednesday, the next Wednesday, because you would really make me feel marvelous if I saw your smiling face in there. What more can I say? I'm loving Gwen. I'm loving Gwen. And I want to do her justice. Please join us. Christopher.
Oh, and just to sum up, it was a pleasure reuniting with all our theatrical family. And I would just say that if there's anything that anyone really aspires to do creatively, don't have fear of an age limit and don't be restricted by anything. Do what it is that is in your heart to do and that you have the passion to do. Put yourself out into the universe, and the universe will step out to assist you. My new single, The More I See You, will be available tomorrow, September 30th, on all music platforms, Apple Music, YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, etc. Thank you so much, Richard, for having me, and a pleasure meeting all of you.